Hi book besties, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are seeing my face for the first time, hi, my name is Maya and I like to talk about books here on the internet. Y'all know what time it is, ready? One, a two, a 1, 2, 3. On the fourth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 mediocre reads, 3 fall reads, 2 TBR games, and a very late reading wrap-up. Yeah, we're doing this. We're doing this one. I'm sorry. We're gonna be a little grinchy today. Oh, my PJs kind of match, not gonna lie. Y'all, I am in like a mood, not a bad mood, but like I am in a interesting like little mood. Apologies in advance for the hair because I just came back from a DoorDash shift. I took a shower and I air dry my hair. Mostly because I don't have a hair dryer. Anywho, we are going to be a little bit of the Grinch today so that tomorrow we could be Jolly Mary, Santa Claus, or Frosty the Snowman. I don't know, one of the happy characters. Just because this happens to be a BOOKMAS speciality. At the end of the year, we do worst books, best books, all of the things. So in order to fit this in to BOOKMAS, I just had to do it, and I had to do it on day 4. And thankfully, I didn't really have a lot of bad reads, okay? I had some DNFs, but I did not have bad reads. Honestly, these are my worst books of my reading year, but they're not the worst books that I have read by far. Like, they are not the ones that have just like, I think about it and I'm just like, oh, absolutely not. Like for certain books last year. I still had some, iffy reads. We're always gonna get one here or there. So let's get into it, shall we? Alrighty, so this is in no particular order, okay? My so-called worst books of the year are in no particular order necessarily. I'm probably sure, like, if I thought about it, maybe I could put in, like, this is my absolute worst of the worst of this pile of possibilities, but I'm not even gonna go there because that's a little too grinchy. The first book that I'm gonna start off with is A Christmas Cocoa Murder. I read this in January, and I even forgot I read this, and then I looked back into my stats on Storygraph, which is why I'm so grateful that I put all of my books in there. I need to put in my books for Q3 and Q4 because I haven't done that yet. And I didn't really get a chance to do Q3 because health, and then I didn't do it. I was lazy. There we go. I said it. So I'll maybe like sneak in a video either by the end of this year, or because life is going to be so hectic and crazy and I'm just going to be everywhere and I'm not even going to really think about too much, a filming schedule. Maybe it'll be in the new year. But regardless, I'll get you Q3 and Q4 of this 2025 reading year next year. What was I even saying? Yeah, so I looked back in my stats on Storygraph and I realized, oh, I have 4 books to talk about that were like not 5 stars or even 4 stars. So these are like the average run-of-the-mill. Maybe I DNF'd you. Maybe I actually gave you below a 3 because quite frankly, I don't remember what rating I gave this book. Y'all can check out my reading wrap up for January because I only read 1 book that month. It's a continual pattern. I just get those months. But I do remember that I wasn't the most impressed with that book, and mostly because of just the branding of it all. Actually, that's going to come into play in another book here in a second. But the branding of it all of the book just got me thinking, I don't know, something completely different. It felt like they were trying hard, because this book was written by multiple authors. It felt like a few of them were trying hard to wrap Coco into an otherwise very interesting storyline. Not that it wasn't interesting, but like some of it made sense. Some of it didn't. Some of it was used really well and some of it wasn't, but the fact that it was called Christmas Cocoa Murders and specifically branded as, hot chocolate was part of the murder that was being investigated, I just felt like in one story, it didn't even make sense to put in there. In another story, I just lost the plot. It felt like it was trying too hard to put in that element. And then another story, I actually felt it used the hot chocolate really well, but then the other elements were just too weird to like really keep along with the theme of the entire book and really understanding what was going on, because there was too much going on within the story. Like, I remember that of all of the stories. Like, either it didn't really do the chocolate element to something that seemed to make sense. And I mean, it's really hard to do like a murder mystery in such a short amount of time in an anthology with other writers. Like, you're looking at all of the different stories and you just vibe with different people and their different writing styles. But like, so there were already a lot of parameters that made it hard. And so I'm like giving grace to that. I truly am. But like, no, honey, no. It felt like it was trying too hard to put in that element, or it was trying too hard for the other elements. Like, I just don't think, and maybe I could be proven wrong, okay? Maybe I could. But I just don't think for an anthology of short stories, so shorter stories, I just don't think crime and murder mystery work. Like, there's just too much. I don't know. I feel like there's just too much you have to set up, too much of a backstory, too much of a bringing you into the characters and convincing the audience to care for these characters in such a short amount of time. By the way, we haven't sat with these characters. These authors have. So the way that they write their story, like, they're telling it from the perspective of knowing this person, but we out here being like, who is this person? Why does this matter? Why are we giving such grace and levity to certain things? And like, what's the thought process of these characters? Meanwhile, they know these characters and understand it's because of this element in the very, very past that isn't even written in the story, and this interaction that made this person think, okay, I can trust them in this and just take them at their word when there is no evidence or something like that, you know? And it's kind of like a child coming home from school and they think that you know who he or she is just based off of him saying he or she. And you're like, who is he or she? Who are these people? Give me names. And then after that, give me like all of the tea, because I need to know all of the tea in order to be able to formulate an accurate opinion on this, right? Because otherwise we're just hearing this third account story. Like, we're the third person to hear about this from someone who witnessed it and wasn't even one of the parties involved. Like, it's messy, it's chaotic. And to be fair, I was there for the mess and for the chaos because it's written in a story. It's amazing. But it just didn't work with the amount of time and real estate that they had. Like, if they had their own novel, I feel like there would just be more time, more setup, just more. Then I said branding issues were a problem for this book. Okay, let me tell you about another branded book that just like, and I gave this a mediocre rating because at the time I was thoroughly invested in the plot line and in the characters, and I didn't know for what reason. But now that I look back on it, and now that I have its second book in my TBR, and I don't even really want to touch it, I don't feel like touching it, I'm probably just gonna say, this is a DNF. Do DNFs count for the prompts to get the killer out of the game? Like, ooh, like, I don't want to touch it. Like, at first it was okay because I was like in the story, but now it's been so long and I'm just like, I don't really care to know the story anymore. Like, even though it's messy, it's chaotic, it's just the type of messy and chaotic that feels icky. Like, especially after so much conversation of the first book, I'm kind of just like, that's why I was so invested, I feel. And like, why I wanted to see what happened with it. But I honestly don't care to, because it's very much like another book that I DNF'd, and the two books that I DNF'd this year are going to be next. So, you know, just seamless transition into talking about them. But anyway, let me tell you the book. It's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I just, lot to say on this book, and mostly because around this time too, there was so much hype around Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I remember the correct wordings. I'm having a lot of trouble with titles recently, y'all, and just speaking in general. But that book was about to come out. I remember because it hadn't come out at that time, but it was going to come out, and everyone was so hyped, as they should be. That world is honestly so amazing as a fictional world. Keep it there. It's getting way too real. Anywho, and I heard it got very, very real in that book, and that I might need tissues, which is why I'm so hesitant to pick it up, because I'm like, if it's that good of a book within a world I liked, whoo, this is gonna break me. But anyways, I digress. All right, okay, so this book was coming out at the time, and I was reading The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I had a lot to say on the Hunger Games and why I will never, 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 never on my life. Well, let me not say that, because I don't know, maybe someday I might. As of my 25-year-old brain currently, I will never not once touch The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes for a very specific reason, and I went off on this reason, okay? If you guys want to know, you guys could, we could have an entire discussion outside of that. I just don't want to get myself off on that rant, because I am passionate about that, I learned. Well, something akin to the reason why I will never touch that book ever in my life for any other reason than to move it to the unhaul pile because I accidentally bought it, and then I realized what it was about, and then I was like, oh, heck no. No, 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 no. I had a kind of similar take on this book, not with the characters themselves, but I had an issue with the branding. I did. I had an issue with the target audience that it was marketed towards. I had an issue with the fact that as a reader myself who read up, there are certain conversations, there are certain things in this world that truly fall under the umbrella of adult conversation. There are conversations that are like unlocked. If you want to think of it this way, life being like a video game, there are certain levels that are unlocked. There are certain upgrades and features that are unlocked the second that you reach a certain age. And it should be like that because you don't want to ruin the innocence and purity of childhood. It was towing a line that was a little uncomfortable for me. And like, maybe it should be uncomfortable. Like, it should be uncomfortable. You should feel uncomfortable with the elements that were in there. But I just mean like maybe my uncomfortability with it is just a personal thing and just like me being a little bit too protective type of thing to a younger age group. And maybe they can handle it. Like, honestly, I am amazed every single day how much I don't know about how people younger than me can just go through life and do things and understand things. Like, I'm just amazed. I just, you know, there is a certain level of protection that one feels when talking about certain things. And there's a reason, like, I mean, we joke about it, of like having the adult conversation. So like, you know, kids get out of the room in specific age range of kids, and there's certain ages of kids that can stay in the room and certain ages of kids that can't. But I feel like there is a certain validity to that as well. And I just don't know, with that one particular thing and element that was in that book, I don't know. I don't know. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right at all. And speaking of elements that didn't feel right at all, let's go to a book that I did DNF. Don't kill me. Zodiac Academy, The Awakening, book 1. Yeah, I couldn't get past, I think, 40 pages of that. Not because of anything necessarily bad in like the writing or the characters, although I did feel like, I felt like it was a little rushed. I felt like we were rushed. I felt like the characters were just very stereotypical, and not like in a good way, not in a way that we can make fun of and be satirical about, but more so just annoying to read, because it felt like it was too easy. The characters were too, they were not rounded. It felt over-explanatory for something that should just be shown. We were getting a lot of pick-me-girl energy, and I don't like pick-me-girl energy. On top of the real reason that I DNF'd it in the first place, there was a consent violation. You do you woo-woo in your world of reading. I need consent. Always. Okay? Always. You hear me? You feel me here? Consent always for me as a reader. I can't. So I DNF'd that book. And then last but not least, the last book that I DNF'd was Silk. And now we can get on a lighter tone. I'm actually glad we went that way in that in that order, because now we can end on a lighter tone. Silk, man. Silk. Like, let me listen. I still remember the TikTok that started it all. I went to the secondhand thrift store, made a little TikTok about it, called them whatever. So, the back of the book was the best elevator pitch I think I've ever seen. Had to be. Because it made me get that freaking book. I couldn't even tell you what it is, what it's about, what it was supposed to be. Like, it felt like from the back of the book there was gonna be spirity, sci-fi, dystopian, almost religious undertoned things happening. But the storyline, it made zero sense. The timeline in this world made zero sense. Quite frankly, it felt like a freaking fever dream from one perspective to another. Like, we were getting a story, then we switched up to an entirely different story, then we switched up to an entirely different story, and none of them seemed to connect. Even when we have the characters merge into one scene, it feels like they don't even know who each other is. And weird things are happening that make zero sense to the plot line. At least to the plot line that we were given on the back, because the only thing that I could follow, the only map that I have, is the book summary on the back. And you all know how directionally challenged I am. Actually, maybe you guys don't. I am very directionally challenged. I can't find anything, and it could be in my freaking hand. One time, I literally was looking for my phone. Y'all, before I was filming, it was on the freaking tripod. Because that's the only thing I have to film. This is only attached to these. By way of this, I can see an arrow and follow. This map had 0 arrows, many destination, no roadways to connect. And it left me stranded without a GPS. Why in the world was this book a thing? Because listen, I am being introduced to so many new authors with so many debuts. And I can forgive a lot of an author for a debut novel, or for a debut into a different genre that maybe they're not accustomed to. I do forgive a lot. But bro, give me something. Give me something. Like, there were no characters that I connected to. There was no plot line I could follow. There was not even an interesting element anywhere in this story where I was just like able to grasp any sort of imagery on. Like, there was nothing. There was nothing. And I wanted to love it so much. It won awards. Baby, how? Really, how? Was I supposed to stick out past the 50% plus one page? Literally, I only got that because I had to, I think I was in Ramathon at the time. This is how far back it was. I had to read 50% of a book for it to count. It counted. Okay, I got my team the points. We didn't win, sadly, but I got my team our points. What in the world was this book, and why does it take to 50% after 50% plus one page if it did change? Why did it take so long? Why? Who's the editor? We need to talk to your people. I'm gonna be all caring about this crap. I need to see your manager. I need to see your PR agent. Like, I need to know what happened here. What happened here? Where did the plot go? Where's the plot? Where's the plot? I'm trying to find the plot. There is no plot. There was nothing. There wasn't even good characters. It wasn't even a fun world to dive into, even if it is dystopian and run down and burning and ash and all of that. Some of us want to go to a zombie world, okay? And mostly for our crush. But, you know, that was nothing. That was nothing. There was nothing but the elevator pitch, and the elevator pitch was so good, bro. No wonder, too. Because now you got me looking sideways at book summaries. Like, if it's bad, oh, it's going to be good. If it's good, run. What happened? Like, I want to still know. And like, I almost, there's an infinitesimal part in my body that is just like, let's just give this book a second chance. Let's just see if we need to go anywhere past that, and maybe then it'll make sense. But honestly, okay, maybe y'all can correct me. Maybe you can. But I just feel like, for the sake of our readers' sanity, and I have very little up here, okay? I don't know about y'all, but my sanity bar is so low sometimes. So low. Why do you make us work for it so hard? Why do you make us try and look for something so hard? And it sounds so bad. Listen, it sounds so bad as I'm saying this. It makes it sound like I hated the freaking book. No, I had great reading experiences, never experienced burnout, literally only had health issues come into play that made me stop reading for a little minute. Or I was just like, you know what? I will wait for the mood to kick in. It always kicked back in next month. There was always a book that I was reading at some points. There was no burnout. That's amazing. So this ain't that. This isn't me burning out. This is me crashing out. Because why do we have to work for it? Yes, I do agree. Sometimes the reader should work for it to get to that just like amazing prize of a great, amazing reading experience. Yes, sometimes it's okay to make the reader work for it, but not that hard. I should not have to be working harder than my 11.5-hour job in order to get this. I know we all be out here working our little butts off to do what we love to do best, which is get that one book and just read and have a great time. Listen, I feel y'all, but we don't want to be working extra hard out here for our hobby. Not like that. We can work a little bit hard for it. Yes, we can. Yes, we can put a little brain juice in there from time to time when we can get it done. We can turn our brains on. We can do this. We can do that. Do not make us work so hard for it that we are the ones that create the story, not you, because that is supposed to be your job, not ours. Period. Like, I'm not having a mad crash out. I'm just having a crash out of some kind. I'm still in good like spirits and good energy. It's like, I'm excited. I need to sign off now before I like make this any more chaotic than it already is, or put my foot in my mouth or whatever. I'm sure I've already done that. But thank you guys so much for watching, for taking the time out of your day to do so. I will have all of my social medias linked in the description box down below if you guys want to follow me on any of my other platforms, which is my lifestyle channel, because I do have one of those, and I'm doing Vlogmas over there literally daily. It happened since the first. my Bookstagram, my Instagram, my TikTok that is doubling as everything until I get myself together and get a book talk as well as a regular TikTok. And then anything extra that I may have on any other social media platforms, because there's other stuff that I do too. So with all of that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, thank you guys so much for being the absolute best bookish bestie that ever was, is, or ever will be. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!